Hey, it's Matt. Welcome to the theory module about specifically releasing these painful tensions from the body. So I'm going to have multiple videos where I actually show you a specific joint, specific part of the body, and some exercises that you can do that will help you have some sort of experience where you actually feel a part of muscle go kind of just like just release, just the nervous system, and that corresponds to the nervous system, your motor neurons literally stopping, just going zzz, and holding the muscles tight. Okay, but before I actually go into the specific exercises, I want to just really cover the theory so you really understand exactly what's happening, because it's really important to have that backup. Otherwise you just do an exercise like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Okay, so brain has cortex, outer layer of the brain. One of the parts of the cortex is the motor cortex. Connected to the motor cortex are the motor neurons that go down to the muscles. I am no neuroscientist. I don't have any single real understanding of the objective reality in terms of the physics, the chemistry, the biology, the neuroscience of what's actually happening. But there is no doubt in my mind that in some way your brain, through your motor cortex, tells parts of your muscles to squeeze, okay? And when they squeeze, that seems to correspond to pain, okay? So like you get tight shoulders, yeah, they're in this like permanent state of contraction, and when it's bad, it's painful, okay? You get sore hips or sore feet or a sore back, they're tight, okay? And they're painful. If you go to a doctor or something like that, they'll say stuff like, oh, it's inflamed, okay? I say the muscle, it's inflamed, and there's adhesions, and there's something wrong with the muscle physically. And that's like fantastic. But the muscle doesn't loosen up and start hurting until you somehow get the brain to just let go, okay? So I've made miraculous improvements in the state of my muscles, and they used to be completely tight everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And every single real kind of improvement in terms of like the tightness, the presence of pain, and like getting rid of that, getting rid of the tension, came from a sudden release of that tension, okay? And it usually was also associated with an understanding of what caused that tension to come about in the first place. So my contention is that at certain moments in our lives, we have some sort of experience, whether it just be some sort of social experience, emotional experience, purely physical experience, metaphysical contemplation, metaphysical angst experience, intellectual, mental experience, and as a result, suddenly a muscle tenses. For example, I had strange experiences where I would be working, doing an exercise on a muscle, trying to, trigger this process. And as I started to kind of like, oh yeah, I really sense that tension. Like I sense it exactly there. There it is. There's that thing that's been kind of like radiating pain. There it is. What is that? And then I'd start to do you know, a very specific exercise that we'll get to. And then it'd suddenly go, and then I'd be thinking like, what is that? What is that? Simultaneously, I'd be thinking, what is that? And all at the same time, it would kind of release, and there'd be kind of like a improvement in my posture, my structure, my alignment of everything, because, you know, a tension has gone off. So something that was kind of like, might go a little bit. No, usually not that drastic, more just like a little bit gone. And then it'd be like, oh yeah, that was that time when I was talking to that, for example, when I was talking to that girl and that guy came up to me and made that comment and I was super embarrassed and I went, ugh. And the shoulder just went forever, right? Or for example, I've had ones where, like, again with the shoulders, back in university when I was in first year, we had to go to mathematics at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the teacher would just write and write and write so fast on these boards, and I didn't know what was happening. And all I knew is that we had this terrible table that was all the way down here, right? And I had to write with my pen so fast in this horrible position, all like that. And I remember it just used to enrage me. And, you know, like all under here, it was all tightened up and kind of like this. And as I was doing exercises, sometimes I would just be like, ugh, like I'd start to notice it. And then that fury, that rage that I had, like at the teacher for just teaching in such a horrible way. And the fact that I just couldn't keep up with it, even though I like am a very good mathematician, like I'm like, why do you do it like this? Like I can't even keep up with this. Like that fury just came to me. And then as I kind of like went back to that, this flashback of that moment, and then I was like, oh, and then it just kind of relaxed, right? So for another example, I remember I had this tension on my foot, underneath my foot, okay? Like many tensions, but one of them, I remember where I used to live, there were these, in Australia, right? There are these things in the grass called bindies, and they're terrible. You're walking along, right? And then there's this sharp thing that stabs in the bottom of your foot, okay? So it's just like, ow! And then it's stuck in your foot, and you're like, ah, ah. You gotta pull this thing out of your foot, and it still hurts even afterwards, and you're like, God damn bindies, right? So, you know, when you would walk, you'd be like taking these like steps, like, oh, there's gonna be a bindi, there's gonna be a bindi, there's gonna be, there's a bindi, and it would just, so as I was doing the exercise with my foot, suddenly I was like, what is that tension? What is that tension? And then I go, oh, it's from where I tensed up my foot when I was 11, and that tension's just never gone out, okay? And I'll give you another example, like, I remember there's so many, okay? There's more than 1,000. Like, I remember one of the first times I kind of, like, improved my back, right? I remember I had this flashback to when we were doing, you know, physical education in school. So it's just like, you know, they teach you push-ups and sit-ups and flexibility and stuff. Obviously they teach it terrible, but they do teach it nevertheless. And I remember trying to do a toe touch or something like that, seated toe touch. And I remember like looking around and seeing that other people could like do it better. And I was like, just reaching. And then it was like, ow. I remember I kind of just pulled too hard and was like, ow, right? And then I got this lesson that that's a dangerous thing to do, right? To put my back in that position and reach out to touch my toes, that's bad. So that tension stood in the way of me fixing my back forever, right? So you accumulate all these little tensions here and there. Let me give you an idea of a metaphysical one. One time I was relaxing my arms onto the table, just like this, and just kind of like raising, just tension on, tension off, tension on, tension off, like very, very, very focused. And then I got this sudden rush of fear. It was like, ugh, like that. And I had this horrible metaphysical contemplation that I must have had years ago that freaked me out. Of like, whoa, I am all alone in this universe and have no one to rely on but myself, right? So there's just some metaphysical contemplation that's a bit scary, that invokes this kind of like terror-like angst right into the center of your being. And it's just scary. But then you're like, ugh, I don't want to think about that, right? So there's these contemplations, these thoughts. Even if you have a thought like, do I hate that person? And then you're like, no, I don't hate that person. But you've closed off that anger, right? You've closed off that rage. Or you're like, someone says to you, you're jealous, and you're like, and just say you were jealous. And then you're like, no, I'm not. I'm not jealous. It's down, right? So when you repress emotions, when you repress thoughts, when you stop yourself from doing some physical action, if you're sitting there working on a keyboard and you're like, it hurts, I need to stop, but I need to get this report done. And then you're like, just keep working. Or you're sitting there going, why doesn't this stupid computer work? Why doesn't it work? I can't believe I have to get this done for my damn boss. No. Okay. But you're like, don't think about it. Just get this done. And then it's like, right? It's not just from sitting there. It's from sitting there in stress and in emotion and blocking it out and trying to just not think about it and just burying it all. So all that stuff just gets completely blocked, right? And then you just walk around with these tensions that are this massive accumulation of all these experiences that you've had in your life. And these are like, that's like the physical manifestation of the, either metaphysical or social or emotional or intellectual experience that you had, okay? And what you have to do is get back in touch with the exact muscle fibers that have been kind of shut down due to those experiences. So there's a few methods that you can use. A lot of it is just, very slow, conscious movement, right? Like just say your shoulders. It's very slow, conscious movement like this, where you're really, getting to know what's going on. Sometimes it's just in a very basic position like this. Others, you may be like laying on the ground with with raised up a bit off the ground and doing something like this, like a complicated position. Or you might, go into a position like this, okay? Very complicated one. So it could just be very slow conscious movement. But I found that the one that really often works, that I found to be the gold standard, was this idea called tension on, tension off. And it's when you go into a position that's very close to what you suspect the tension might be, go very close to it. Like you don't know exactly where it is. And then in that area, you start to turn the tension of the muscle on and experience that, and then turn it off and see what it feels like when it relaxes. And then turn it on, and then turn it off. So that might look like on, off, on, off. But it's usually, you start with big, but then you get smaller, and you make the movement smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're moving closer and closer to what you suspect the exact tension is, to get in touch with the nature of that musculature that's involved with the pain. And suddenly, if you start to really get a sense of that tension and its nature, and you go, there it is. What's that? What is that? What is that? What is that? And you keep moving it, your brain suddenly hooks up, like the experience that you're having, and you're asking, what is that? Why do I feel that? What is that? Why do I feel that? What could that have been caused by? And suddenly you'll get close to where it is in your brain, where that memory is, and it's like, boom, and it happens, okay? And then whoosh, the tension could release. Sometimes it might trigger that emotion that you're having, or you might have to contemplate those thoughts that you're having. But usually, as soon as you're more senior, and you've probably already reflected on it a bit, you're probably ready to just be like, oh yeah, I get that, that's cool. So that is the idea behind the whole thing, okay? So take that conceptual framework with you into the exercises as we go, and good luck. And if you have any issues with this, if you find it difficult or you don't understand something, definitely shoot me an email, okay? Because I understand this stuff's complicated. It's completely different from anything you've ever heard before, but it absolutely works, okay? I used to be so tight and wrecked, and now I can do gymnastics, combat samba, and I've been learning ballet for a month just to like really improve all the performance now. And my teacher says that I'm like as good as a first year student after a month. And they study like 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I study 1 hour a day, 3 days a week. It's like, the change I've made in my body is massive, okay? So this can happen for you too. Okay, so good luck, have fun.